Head of Policy Engagement and Advocacy at the Center for Democratic Development, CDD, Dr. Kojo Asante, says a teacher licensure process will reduce the rate of sexual abuse in schools. He believes licensing teachers create accountability mechanisms to keep them in check. Research shows that 1 out of every 2 victims of sexual abuse happen in schools. Dr. Asante believes that number can reduce with adequate government policy.
We cannot really just be focused on building roads and this and that. You know, this goes to the soul of any nation, to the morality of any nation. And it has to be a matter that is discussed at cabinet level to make sure that, you know, this is kept as quickly as possible. And it wouldn't require huge amounts of money to do this. So it's really about priorities and the kind of nation that we want to build. So for me, that's why I mentioned that I think by now I would have expected the president or cabinet to be discussing this. GES might be looking at it, or Ministry of Education, but it's not enough. This has to be elevated to a much higher priority and people tasked with specific things to do. For me, a lot of these, you know, so-called pedophiles are really just opportunists. There are no accountability systems in place. And the sanctions regime, particularly from GES, is terrible. When, you know, people just get transferred in these kinds of matters, things are handled outside of the criminal justice system and so on. So it creates a certain culture. There's really no real threat to a person's liberty or even the economic status. And that's why, for me, I support this teaching licensing system, because this is the kind of thing that takes away your license. Apart from whether you go to jail or any other penalties, there has to be real consequences for basically, you know, snuffing the life out of a little child.
Dr. Kojo Asante of the CDD there, speaking earlier on the Super Morning Show with Daniel Dadzie. He was actually responding to the report of a 9-year-old girl who was allegedly sexually molested by a teacher.